Good evening everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are going to be doing another shell build because I know you guys just really like the shell builds that I'm able to produce. So I was scrolling through Instagram and I found this absolutely amazing one by Becky Babe. It even has a little pondy section coming off the side of it, and I think it's going to look super cute. I'm excited to be able to include it. As you can see, it's got this little walkway as well that goes around the building, and I think that's going to look absolutely amazing. So let's crack on and see what I'm able to do with this. Okay, so I've placed it on this cute little lot here where we've got loads of nature around it. I think that's really important for our little pond, and I want to try and incorporate nature quite a lot into this. Maybe have some ivy walking up the side and something. So let's have a closer look at this for the first time. Obviously, we do have beams going down into our little pond area. We've got nice open space right at the front here. Obviously, you could place this wherever you kind of wanted to. So this could actually be the back of the house. But because we have a clear fireplace over here, I don't want to really put that at the front of the house because I think that'll look a bit odd. Normally you'd have a fireplace at the side or around the back. This is quite a small lot as well that I did place it on. It originally in the gallery it was 30 by 30, but I didn't want to place it on that because it gave us loads of empty space all the way around the outside, and I just think it looks a little bit better on a smaller lot. But obviously if you wanted, I guess, a bigger garden or something, you could do that too, but I'm kind of picturing that our front garden is the main area of our garden. So obviously we have this big section at the side here on the top, which will give us, I guess, an upstairs bedroom, maybe a couple of bedrooms, depending on how small we want to make them. We could also maybe have some kind of balcony or something, potentially. Downstairs, obviously, where we've got the most amount of space. You can see by all the different squares that we have, this is going to be obviously not a very small build, but we can kind of flesh it out and add as much space and room as we want. Then obviously we do have our little section over here that overlooks our pond. So it's quite simplistic. Obviously this is where we're thinking about having the fireplaces. That's where we've got our chimney. I think I'm going to go with a bit more of a old kind of Victorian style for this, just because I don't do a lot of those, and I think that it'll look really cute with this sort of ivy idea that we've got going on. So I think I'm going to start by placing our roofs, just because then we can get an idea of the shape of the house. I'm going to have one bigger one right across here, just because that kind of makes sense. This is the only first floor that we actually have. And we'll make it a little bit taller just because this is a Victorian house, and I'm going to dip it in a little bit as well. And that's going to give it a little bit more shape. I think we can also have a second one coming off of this side, potentially, just to give us that added shape in there, but we'll make that one a little bit smaller. Now, I want there to not be this roof digging in here, so as a little build tip, what you can do is actually pull this all the way in. We're going to duplicate it onto the other side, and then I'm actually going to remove the edge here by holding shift. We're going to pull it in, and that's going to give us a little bit of hangover, but not too much that it's going to look funny. We can then just copy this, add it back into the middle again, and then just drag it across. We can then pull up this edge part here, and then it removes it. So then that's going to give us that little gap there so it doesn't look as funny. I do think I want this to be just slightly shorter, just because it's supposed to just be there as like a little act. Now for the rest of it, I feel like this is going to be a little bit tricky, just because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I just find adding the roofs is always the hardest part, just to try and make it look as good as possible. We'll add a little one over here. And this is where I'm just kind of test out a few different locations for roofs. So I think that's fine for our roofs. We can then go ahead and start adding all of our colours to the outside of the house. So I'm going to start with our roof, and I wanted to go with something a bit more unique, and I'm thinking we go with blue. Obviously we're still doing a bit of an older house, so we'll have to see what we can actually get in blue. I do kind of like this one though, just because it's quite unique. So I think let's go with that one, just because we haven't really done that before. I know that we were going with this sort of old Victorian style, but I just think this one looks a little bit better. I might try and see if we can find something that's a bit more just saturated after we've added in the rest of the colours. Then for our trim, let's just go with something like this where it's a nice wood colour. I realised that we didn't really go over the rules of this shell build, so I'm just going to have a quick look and read of those. So we can change the wall height, obviously the roofs and the spandrels. We can add balconies and patio roofing, use any packs. We can use any size lot, which is good because I made it smaller. We can add interior walls, obviously. CC is allowed in this one, but I think that Becky is going to do a CC and non-CC sort of competition to see which one they think is best. So I'm not going to be using CC just because I don't really like using them in my builds, because that means that anybody can download them when I upload them to the gallery. So they said we can't touch obviously the exterior walls, which makes sense because that's the point of a shell challenge. We can't move the already placed balcony, which is fine, and we can't obviously remove the pond. It says that they can make it bigger though if you would like to, so that's, I guess, good to know. Obviously we're going with a bit more of a Victorian house, so I'm thinking something like this kind of makes sense. It's a shame we can't really match the wood that we'd already chosen, but we might just have to deal with that. I'll just go through and change some of the colours of the wood for our trim in a second. So I'm thinking we can go through and do little bits like this when we've got a window above. We can then do something like this when it goes on an edge. I think this looks gorgeous for our roofs as well, where it's got all this patterning. There we go, so I've added all of our outside walls. I think that's looking good. We can then go over to this section where we've obviously got our big old chimney. Classically, we would use some kind of stone for this, so I'll just find something that kind of matches with what we've picked. This one I think is pretty good. Same kind of tones being used. We can then go back to our front and just the round, I think, again with the roof. So we need a bit more of a desaturated wood colour. It's a bit more grey. So what I think I'm going to do is actually just use this grey colour, but it still looks like it's way too saturated. This one maybe, but it still looks quite dark. Maybe let's fiddle around with the roof first. So obviously if we go to blue, these are the different blue tones that we have to pick from. All of them are pretty bright, so is there any that still give that kind of blue tone but without being that bright? This one's actually kind of blue. It's like a bluey green colour. I feel like it kind of works with this older vibe of the building that we're going with. I do think this brown now doesn't look as bad. I kind of wish we could match it to this brown here, but there's just nothing that really looks the same as that. They all look like there's a bit too much going on. But I don't think it looks awful, so let's just stick with that for now then. I'm then going to go in and add all of our doors and windows. So obviously I'm thinking that we go with the one from the Get Together pack, as that gives us similar colours and the right kind of era. I actually feel like I like the little pebbles underneath the windows a little bit more than that pattern. I am feeling like maybe we could get rid of the colour. I did want to do the colour, but I think with these walls it's just so difficult to get that colour to work well. And if we make it a little bit darker, it matches in with these windows and doors as well. Okay, so I added windows to all of our house here. I think it looks pretty good so far. I think we maybe need a few more bits to the outside though. Obviously we've got our trim that goes all the way around the outside of the house. I don't know whether I want to just match maybe the one that we've already got there. I think that's probably a better idea. I'm going to choose a darker colour for our beams that go into this pond here, just so that it matches a bit better. Maybe something like that kind of works. For our edge, I'm thinking this actually looks quite nice. Don't know if we can get it in a slightly darker. Yeah, the darker one looks a bit better. If this space is looking pretty cozy so far. I think obviously this part's going to be wood. I don't know whether I actually want to kind of split it off at all and do some stones or something. But let's see how the wood would work first. Obviously this would be maybe a more modern extension that you would have onto the house, but I think that wood colour works pretty well. Then we can choose a nice wood stairs for that. I think that's looking pretty cute so far. Obviously there's a bit more that I want to do to the roof section just to make it look a bit more exciting. Thinking we could add maybe a couple of these. The only issue that I have with that is that for some reason this part's really pale compared to the rest of it. The red one is actually fine, so maybe we should have a look at changing the roof colour again. I know that we keep changing it, but I just want to make sure that it looks absolutely perfect. Okay, the red one is actually a little bit warmer, so maybe this would be a bit of a nicer colour to have. Actually, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's do the red one then instead. Obviously, we're also going to need our chimney, so for that we just go over here and then we can make this a little bit bigger. That should work. Okay, it's a little bit too big, so if we maybe pick a different one, we could go with something like this, but I don't know if it's going to look a bit too modern. We can then raise it up just so that it's perfectly the right height. So let's have a look. A little bit more, I think, and then it should be all right. There we go. So that doesn't look too bad. I actually think that's kind of alright, because you'd have multiple chimneys coming out of something like this, I think, as well. Then we can change the colour slightly, and I think that looks actually pretty good. Then I do want some of these little pointy bits just near the fronts of our houses on top of our roof. I do want them to be a little bit smaller though. There we go, so I think that looks pretty good. We've added these little spire bits on top of here. Now, obviously, we did also want to include ivy going all up the side of it, so that's going to take a while, but it should look pretty good. I think we're going to do it, let's do it on this back section here where we've got some windows. We could even do it on this part of the chimney as well. So the way that I normally do it is we'll use these ones from the vampire pack, and I'll literally just drag it all the way up. I want it to go all the way to the top. To have it not leave an edge, I'm just going to hold Alt in order to just drag it slightly over that corner there. Then obviously this is very linear, so what we're going to do is just start dragging it all the way from one side. Obviously I don't want it to really go over the windows, but at this point we're literally just colouring in all of those gaps. If I would like it to go over the window a little bit, what I would probably do is use this one, which is just a little bit more sparse. And then we can kind of drag it up like that so it doesn't take up too much of our window. And then I'm just going to blend it in with that top. If I want to then make it look a little bit smoother down here, I can just make the individual bits of ivy a bit smaller. And then we can just use Alt to basically just make it look a bit smoother. Obviously we've done that one side there, so we can come around to this side. So we don't want it to just be an absolute triangle, because then that's going to look a little bit strange. So I'm going to try to maybe drag it over a little bit longer. We can then have it just sort of plateau over here, and we'll take it all the way up to this wall. You want to try and make it feel as natural as possible. I'm going to have it go all the way up here as well. You don't really want to start taking it into the roof that much, just because it is a bit difficult to place around the roof. But I'm going to do it a little bit just so that we've got it looking, again, just more natural. Now that we've done that, we can blend it out a little bit more. So obviously we can do this across our window, which I think if we do a little bit at the top and bottom, it looks all right. I'm going to continue to use this just to create basically a shading that goes all the way to the bottom. Obviously we need it over here as well because it's quite harsh edges. Do it right at the top. We can even have it go over this window a little bit as well. Then do the same on the other side, and that just makes it look not as harsh. And there we go. So we've got ivy going up one side. So I'm gonna have a look now at the other side, because I do want ivy kind of spreading across the house. I think maybe over here in this corner, we don't really have a lot going on there, so we could do more there. So I'm just gonna add little bits going up here, and then we can maybe only do a little bit for this one. We'll have it dragged down there. So I've just dragged it all the way across there, and we've done it all the way across this side as well. It's good to do more at the bottom and then just slowly make it like skinnier at the top, but you could extend it out so that then the roof part has more than, if that makes sense. I think I want to do a very small amount over here as well. I do just want this place to be like covered in quite a lot of ivy, just because I do think it looks quite good. We'll just do a little bit over in this corner, so I don't want to overdo it. Really take advantage of the sizing tool when you're doing this. It does take quite a bit of time, because you do just need to go back and forth and just keep making it smaller, then using Alt again in order to place it in the right place, but it will be well worth it in the end. So I've added it to that corner as well. It is looking really good so far. I'm thinking that maybe we add just one more bit to this corner, the same as we just did there, and then we'll leave it for the ivy. There we go, we've got one more bit of ivy just on the other side of the building. I think we can then go in and start doing more decorations on the outside of the house, so I want to do some lights and things just around so that it looks better in the dark. I think we go with cute little ones like this, because that's very much of the right kind of era. Do you think maybe, actually, yeah, let's put them on the wooden beams, that makes a bit more sense. We can do them over on this side as well. We only really need them on the front of the house, you don't really need them around the back, just because we don't really have a back door or anything either. So because this is also quite nature inspired, I'm thinking that maybe we could add some little planters in just underneath the windows. Let's go with those ones. I think the yellow looks pretty nice there. And I'll just add those to the maybe ground floor windows. I think we don't really need them around the back. There's quite a lot of stuff going on around the back because of this massive amount of ivy. I'm still contemplating whether it might be a good idea to actually add windows to these parts, but it's very close to that roof there. I think it does look a little bit better though. And we can add some additional little flowers just next to this front door here. Ooh, and I think I kind of want to include this as well, because that actually looks pretty good for our front door. I think that's pretty good for the outside of the house. I'm going to go ahead and do our garden area now, where I don't really want to include a massive amount. I think I just want to include a few little bits just to add some plants and obviously give some decoration to here. We could do a little path as well, just leading up to our porch. Maybe do a couple of bushes out this side as well, right at the front. We can incorporate that cute little sort of yellow flower theme that we're doing here. I think I'm going to stretch across this little fence here as well, just to section it off. I don't know if I want to do it all the way around. How does it look if we do that? I think it looks a bit too sectioned off. I think it looks fine like this though. Then we could even put our mailbox just at the end here. I think that one matches pretty well. So for our garden, I'm thinking what we can do is do maybe like a little wraparound like this. Thing that doesn't look too bad. It kind of cuts into the front garden a little bit, but I think it does give us sort of a nice little path going all the way around. I think I'm going to do it slightly smaller and we'll use a slightly rougher brush. Or actually, how does that look? It's not too bad. I just want to make sure I get it perfect. I don't want it to be too wiggly, but I think that looks all right. So let's go with that one. I'm then just going to add something to this edge here. Thinking maybe flowers like this, and we can just loop it around if I just follow the path as it goes. Now that we've added all of that, I can then go through and add any other bits that might break it up and make it look less like contrasting. So for that, I'm thinking we could use these white flowers that might be able to do that for us. Okay, I think that looks pretty nice. I like that. Okay, cool. So now we can move on to our next bit, which is our little lake over here. So I'm going to start by just going in and adding a little bit of dirt all the way around our pond. That's just going to make it feel a little bit more realistic, I think. I'm going to change our pond colour as well, just because I really like the sparkling one from the Get Together pack. I just think that looks a little bit nice. Obviously, there's a few other options, like we could go with this one with loads of leaves all over the top of it, or this one also has quite a lot of leaves, but we don't really have that many trees around, so it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. And there's a few other ones, but they are vastly different colours. I think this one also looks quite nice, but I do just really like the sparkling water in this one. So now we can add some decorations to the outside of this section, so I'm just going to add a few little bits from this front part so that it doesn't look jarring when it suddenly changes around the corner. For our little pond, I normally use a few different things, so I'm going to use stuff like this just right next to the water. We can make it a little bit smaller as well. We've also got these things which work well next to water too, and of course we've got this grass stuff as well, which is perfect for the water. So I'm just going to add a few of those sort of scattered around. This is how I'm going to just sort of make it feel much more natural. We can then go in and do some rocks. So this one I think is quite important for just basically making it look like it's not one big ring all the way around the pond. And obviously use your sizing to your advantage here. We can add some smaller and some bigger rocks just to make it look a bit more natural. And we're just sort of scattering them around. I think that looks pretty good now. Obviously, I do want some animals on there as well, so I'm going to have a look at what kind of animals we can get. I do like the idea of having some ducks, so I'm going to add those. I think it's not really big enough to be adding swans or anything like that. We could have some fish in there as well, though. If you wanted to be a little bit extra, you could even add some like lily pads and things. I might add just a few of those, but we can add one big group of it and then just add in some random other ones that we can change the sizes of. I think that looks pretty nice. So I think that's good for our pond. Then the last thing we're going to do with the outside section is just add in some shading. So for that, I'm just going to use the dirt tool and we're going to lower it so that it's a bit smaller. And I'm just going to go around anything that basically comes out to just make it look like it's not very static and just sort of sat in a random place. So that'll include anything from underneath the trees. It'll include like this mailbox over here. If we make it a little bit smaller, we can even do the posts where they go into the ground. I'm then obviously going to go around the back of the house, and we're just going to do the entire trim all the way of the house, because obviously these foundations are stuck into the ground, so it's not going to be complete. Then the last part I want to do outside is literally just this front porch here. I think I'm going to add a little chair or something on this side so that it can look out, and then I do just want to add some potted plants. So maybe go with this chair here. I think it looks pretty good in that colour. I'm going to add one light over here as well, just for when you are sitting. I'm going to add just those little potted plants there. And I even think we can have a little doormat there as well. I think that looks really nice actually. So that's the outside of our house complete. We can now finally move on to the inside. So let's move on to the inside of the house and work out exactly what we want to do with this. So I guess a good starting point is just splitting off all of the rooms so that we can have an idea of where we want everything. So obviously this is where our fireplace is going to be, so I'm just going to section that off now. That would then make sense that our lounge would be near the back of the building, but that does feel a little bit strange just because you would normally have that near the front, probably this room here. My initial instinct is obviously to split it all the way down the middle, but that would then immediately clash with our fireplace, which then obviously doesn't really make sense. If we look at the windows, obviously something that would make sense is to have this be kind of one room over here. What I'm thinking is that we could actually have two different lounges, but I still don't really know if that's going to work. I think down here is probably the best idea because that gives us a split nicely in the wall where we're not right next to a window or right next to the fireplace. We obviously need somewhere for our stairs as well, so we're going to have to think about that a little bit too. I'm thinking we extend this wall out a little bit as well. Part of me is thinking that we could split directly down here, but then that does make the windows kind of strange in that room. We could make this room very large, and then what we can do is just extend it off like this. And we've got one very large room over on this side. I don't think that looks too bad. Obviously, we have to consider where we're going to put all of our other things in the house, so I'm thinking this be our entrance hallway. We could have some stairs on this side over here, or we could even extend it out like this and just have the stairs like in the same room. If we pull this back, that makes a bit more sense. This can obviously be our kitchen area, I guess. We could have our dining space over here and have an open lounge and dining area. I think that also kind of works. But then we have to bear in mind that then we have our fireplace in our kitchen, which I feel like is a bit weird. I'm thinking this little bit over here can actually just be a downstairs bathroom, and I'm fine with that just because it is quite small. Another alternative idea here is that this is actually our living space, and then we can do this as our dining and kitchen. Maybe have the dining room a bit closer towards the front of the house, and then back here we can have our kitchen. Obviously, if this was an old English house, the main kind of thing that I'm thinking is that it would probably have a quite skinny, small kitchen, but we do have quite a lot of space here, so I think we can kind of get away with it. So I think that's actually fine. Let's go ahead and look at our stairs. This is very open plan and much bigger than what I would normally do, so it's going to be quite interesting. Obviously, for our stairs, we can just go with something a bit more Oh, I also realized that I just completely ignored where we actually have our upstairs, which is over here. So that means that we're going to have to kind of go back a second and just rework out where we want those stairs, because I was going to put them in this entrance hallway, so we can't really do that. They're going to have to be over here in this section where we were going to put the kitchen. Or we can put them somewhere in the middle here, because it goes all the way there. So we could put them on this side, but then we definitely are cutting into one of the rooms here. We could give ourselves like a little space like this, then I guess section things off a little bit more. I'm just trying to think about not cutting into this window here. So I don't think we're going to be able to do it that way. I think we are going to have to build our stairs going up here, which is kind of annoying because that does mean it absolutely cuts into a window. But I'm wondering, because that's the one that we've got ivy all over, we could fix that up somehow. We'll do double stairs, I think, and then we'll just section that whole bit off. I'll get rid of that window there, and then we'll just fill that outside section in with ivy. And we'll just, it shouldn't look too bad because it is like already covered in ivy. It kind of looks like the window may have just been lost. I then just need to work out what is happening here with this section, because obviously we can't cut it into there, so I might just have to add a door somewhere. I'm thinking we just add one here. Then we can go upstairs through our dining area / kitchen. It's a bit of a weirdly laid out house, but I don't think it looks too bad. We could even pull this out a little bit more if we wanted more space, but I think we want a little bit more space in our dining area maybe. I think this looks fine. I guess it gives a bit more shape as well. Actually, we'll leave it as that. I think that looks fine. Let's head upstairs and we can have a look at this section. So obviously this is quite open. I'm thinking we can maybe get rid of, if we can work out a way to get rid of this part, but I don't know if there is. Okay, there is, but it just brings in all of this roof for some reason. So maybe we can work something out with that still be included. So we've obviously got quite a lot of space throughout this entire thing. We've got our bathroom downstairs instead of being upstairs. I'm trying to work out how many bedrooms we can kind of fit here. We can either do one large one or we can try and fit 2 in, but I feel like it's going to be quite small then. Something else I'm thinking about is that we could actually include another bedroom downstairs, but it would be very small and kind of sectioned off. I think we could probably do this as a 1 bed just to give us more space. So we'll section all of that off there and this can be our bedroom upstairs. Actually, there is something I can think about adding in a extra room. If we did this as a hallway that goes all the way around, we can actually make this into a bedroom over here. Then this can be another room on this side. I don't think that should look too bad. Yeah, I feel like that looks all right. So I don't really know where I'm going to be doing things now because I did want this to be our lounge and I think that does kind of work. One of these can be our kitchen and dining area. I'm actually thinking we do that as this front part because we can have the kitchen cabinets going all the way around here and then we can have a seating area here. Then this is obviously our lounge. An alternative is that we have the lounge and dining room together, which I think that would also kind of work because we can have our lounge area here with next to the fireplace and we can have a dining area over here. Then we've got our bathroom. This is our kind of big like walkway when you first enter the house, and then obviously we've got our other little spare bedroom over on this side. So that does give us 2 bedrooms, which is better because I think this house is quite big and I think it'd be a bit silly to only have 1 bedroom in there. We can actually give both of the rooms a little bit more space if we were to just also move this a little bit. I've actually made a platform that goes all the way up here that just allows us to add 2 stairs instead of 1 so that it looks a little bit neater. Now we can go ahead and add in our doors. So I'm thinking we might actually want to do this as a bit more of an open one. Over here for our kitchen, obviously we can add just normal door there. We can add a normal door there as well for our next bedroom. Up here we can add one for our bigger bedroom, and then we need to add one for our bathroom. If we have a quick look at the archways, I'm actually tempted to make my own, because what we can then do is go in and grab some kind of pillar, probably go with this one, smack that in there and there. Then going to use that to make our little archway, and we can add our walls back in. I think that looks pretty good actually. I think I want one of these over here as well, just as sort of a load bearing one. And that definitely makes it feel a lot more open as well. And for our lighting for now, I'm just going to add in a bunch of these little ones, and that's just going to give us the light we need to be able to see for our building. So obviously I'm thinking that we have a nice wooden floor all the way across this. Something like this maybe, or the other way around. Yeah, I think that one works a bit better. And we can have that in most of our rooms. We'll do that here on the stairs as well. And once we get upstairs, we'll do that maybe in the bedroom as well, but I'll see once I get to it. We'll follow that through to the kitchen as well. Then obviously it's quite typical in a lot of these to have this sort of wooden paneling all the way around it. I don't like a lot of the ones that they give you like these, just because I think they look quite basic, but I do kind of like these ones because they're a bit lower. This one I don't think is as bad as well, just because there's not too much going on. I don't like the blue colour very much though, but this sort of cream colour looks a bit nicer. I think we can go a bit more simplistic in the hallway, maybe with just something like this. We can even go with this more yellowy tone maybe. Yeah, we'll mix it up a little bit. Maybe actually the yellowy tone would be better in the lounge. Let's do the pink one for the hallway. Actually, that doesn't look too bad because I don't think that that's that pinky of a tone. We'll choose the lounge in a second. or I guess the kitchen area and the next bedroom. We'll choose this one again for upstairs. I think we could use something like this for our little section up here. Or maybe, is there a bit more one that makes a bit more sense, that kind of looks a bit more English? Something like this, a bit more simplistic. There we go. Just going to change these a little bit so they're a bit darker now that we've got the other colours in. I think we need a large rug for this front section where we walk in. We do, how does that? I think that's a bit too big. Kind of wish it was a little bit bigger, but I think that kind of looks all right. Obviously, it's a bit annoying that it doesn't really link up with this without then not linking up with the door, but I think it looks better here. Over here, I'm thinking we have some kind of coat rack. This is where I worry that we're going to start getting some things that look just too modern for this kind of build. So we might end up having to try and make something that holds coats ourselves. This thing here isn't too bad, but it's very country. I think maybe we put something like this in the corner, and then we can put some coat things on the other side. We do that, and then maybe add another one. I think that looks pretty good. Then maybe grab some shoes and we'll just scatter those near the bottom. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good for our sort of section where you can add all your bits where you've just come in. I think we need maybe 2 lights as you enter here. Okay, I think that looks nice. Now let's do maybe just one more thing over on this side in this hallway. It'll obviously have to be something quite skinny, but I'm thinking maybe we could just add like a little cabinet like this. Then maybe even like a little plant just against this cabinet. Yeah, I feel like that looks quite nice as our little walkthrough. I do want some pictures on these walls though as well. And we do have another little gap over here that I might add another plant to. Just add like a little skinny one there. Then let's add some pictures. A few on that side. Then I think we just need a couple more on this wall here. I think just that one looks alright, otherwise we're going to be overdoing it a little bit. So then we can move over to our first room, which I guess I'll do the living room next. So obviously we know we have the fireplace over on this side, so we can start by adding that in first, I think. I do quite like this one. It does remind me of one that I had when I was little, so I think that one's quite good. I'm going to add this into the back section of our chimney, just so that we can see that something is there. It works with these red tones as well. So obviously we have got our seating area over here, so that's where we can put our sofas. I think these ones are quite nice. I might fiddle around with the colours of them though. Obviously we do have this sort of wall that bends in, and that does make it look a little bit strange. I'm trying to see if there's a way that we could add that, but we might just have to go with a 2 sofa instead. Or we can do one there and then maybe a couple of seats over this side. I think that might look a little bit less odd. We do something like this and then this. Yeah, I feel like that looks less odd. Then we can have a little side table over here as well. I might change the colour of these though. Let's see if there's any that work a bit better. I think I do like the pale colour of the seat, but I think this one does work better with the wood tones. Grab a rug. I think something like that works quite well, but how are the colours? Actually, yeah, the colours look pretty good as well. I don't know if we want one that looks maybe a little bit newer though, because these are obviously a little bit rough. I feel like a square one actually looks quite nice. The only issue is I'm not a big fan of the colours. There we go, there's a one that I think works quite well with our chimney there. Then we can maybe add in a little table here if I make it a bit smaller. Or does that look a bit odd? Maybe we don't need a table there. I feel like the table kind of takes away from it a bit. Then I think we can have 2 side tables either side of our main sofa, and then I'm going to do lamps on both of those. Go with maybe this older style lamp. I am actually half tempted to add this on, even though it's a little bit more modern, but I think it does look really cute in the corner there. We change the colour of that one maybe to this warmer tone. Then obviously we need some pictures, so I'm kind of thinking we go with something that can go across this top section here. We do have a couple of, I think, like blueprint type ones that would work quite well here. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. We can add that just in the middle there. There's our tiny little dining area done. I might add some wood or something over this side, just like this one here. We're also going to add this really tiny potted plant just there. Then we can go over here and do our dining space. I think it does make sense that you would have sort of either 2 dining rooms, or we can make this whole area a kitchen. I can't really decide how I want to go about doing it, but I think it would look a little bit better if we did that. I think I'm going to go with this table because I really like the legs on it. It really fits with the theme of what we're doing here. Then for our chairs, I do quite like these ones. I think these look quite nice. We'll do them all the way around. I think we do need some colour going on here though, so I am thinking we could use another rug, but we have used quite a few. Maybe if we use like a long one though, it'll be a bit better, because they do normally have quite a few rugs in a house like that. Something like that works better. I'm not the biggest fan of the colour, and all the other ones are really dark is the only issue. Let's see if we can find any other ones. Do have that one, but it's not long enough. So I think we might have to settle with this one if we do want a rug there. I think that one looks alright. Then for our table, I think we need some flowers. Could just go with something small and cute like that. I think that looks alright. I'm actually tempted to mix up the chairs that we have, just because these ones have arms, and that would be a bit weird to have ones with arms going all the way up the sides as well as the ends. So what we could do is do simple ones like this and then have fancier ones at either end, and I think that changes it up a bit. I think that looks pretty good. I think we do need something over this side though. I'm gonna actually move everything over just one, so that then we can have some kind of cabinet over this side. Thinking this one looks pretty good. Yeah, we'll go with that one. And I don't think we really need anything else in this room, so let's move on to our next room. I think we'll do this time. Weirdly, a lot of old English bathrooms actually had wallpaper, so I'm thinking we can go something like that. Then we'll pick tiles for the floor. Even something like that is probably about right. Then I'm thinking we have a bath on one side, and then obviously the toilet and sink on the other. So let's do the bath over here. Normally there'll be like this kind of shape. So I think this one's actually pretty good. One of the ones with just legs on it. Or this one's pretty. We'll go with this one. Alternatively, we could do the one that actually has a shower built in as well, and I think that does kind of make it a bit more playable, just because it's a bit annoying not having a shower in the house. So we'll go with this one, because at least then it's easier to play with. We'll add a towel over here next to the shower. Looks like a nice fluffy towel there. I am thinking maybe we could add a little sort of shelved area over here so that we can put something on there. Maybe just something like that. I feel like that looks alright. I can even pull it back a little bit into the wall so that it's a bit skinnier. Then let's grab our sink and toilet. I am going to pop some bits on that in a second as well. Go with some of these more old sort of Victorian designs, especially when it comes to that toilet there. Definitely this mirror here, which is also a cabinet. A lot of older houses have those kind of mirrors. Add in a very small hand towel. Then we can go back over to this section over here. I'm thinking that we maybe just have, what do we have? Maybe a towel. We can just set that on top there. We'll have two different coloured towels. How does that look? Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I do want to add like one more thing to it, I think. Maybe just a tiny plant on top, like that. Yeah, I think that looks alright. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to do curtains, I think, before we go upstairs. So we'll keep going through this. Let's move on to our next room, which is obviously going to be our kitchen. So I was thinking for this kitchen, we actually use a little bit of the outside and bring it back in. We can do this kind of thing along this wall and then just do the plain one across the rest, maybe even up to there. And then that way we've got at least something a bit different going on that doesn't feel a bit too rough. We can then use obviously the cabinets and things to make it feel a bit less rustic as well, just because I don't want to feel like it's quite cheap. For our cabinets though, I was thinking of using these ones from the Vampire pack, just because that they do look really nice and warm as well, and they look quite like new too. For our appliances, I was thinking about going with this one as it is just sort of that older style. We have a couple of other ones that could work as well, like this one, but it's got like this gem in it because it's from the like magic pack, so it doesn't work amazing. We do want to keep with it feeling older, but I also like, obviously if this is kind of in a modern day, you wouldn't have kept sort of an old fridge. It's very likely that you would have kind of upgraded, so we could go with something like that that at least matches the colours of the cups. Or we could go with something like this, which I think this one's actually pretty cool because it still functions, it's not off the grid or anything, but I do worry that it's a bit too stylized. Another option is this one. I think this one's kind of unique. It does have more style to it again, but I actually quite like the kind of gold handles and things that it's got. I think I'm actually just going to go with this one, just because the gold handles don't work with the countertops, and at least this one's black as well, so it's given it that slight more modern vibe. We can go with a slightly older oven though, I think, but we'll have a quick look and see what would kind of work best. I think we can do 2 sinks in this one, so we'll do 2, one here, one there. Then maybe, where are we going to have our oven? Or we could have maybe one sink here and maybe have our oven here. That might work. But I did kind of want to do like higher up sort of storage, I think. Another alternative, we actually have our oven over here, but that would be a bit odd. I think what we could do is if we remove both of these here, we can do a last counter here, and then we can make this section into its own sort of oven bit. So we can add the oven there, and then maybe add some storage around it. Thinking if we do maybe something like this. Or I guess even actually one kind of looks good. I think it looks a bit too crowded in that corner otherwise. Then we do have this old style like coffee maker, which I'm just going to add to that corner there. This is definitely something that I feel like you would have here right next to where we have the oven. We'll add this little exhaust in as well, just at the top. I'm trying to think of something that I can put in this little corner over here, because we do have that space, but I have no idea what would work. Would this work? It looks a little bit too much like there's like clutter going on and it'd be quite hard to read. I think we can leave that bit for now. We'll come back to that section in a minute. Let's do our 2 sinks. This is where it's a little bit more modern because you wouldn't really have 2 sinks in like an older kitchen, but I just think that it'll look quite good here. We'll do 1 and then 2. It's a shame that we can't sort of just stick it right in the middle, but oh well. Then I'm gonna add these going all the way around the corner, and then maybe just take it up to there. I don't think we need them to continue on over here. Then let's add some decorations to this corner over here. We go with maybe one little kitchen roll, and then a plant. We'll add this really tiny mortar pestle. That looks pretty good. Do a small hand towel over here on the wall next to the sinks. I think that's looking pretty good so far. We still need to think of something for this space. I think in the center we can have loads of pots and pans hanging down. We do maybe them hanging down there. I think that looks kind of cool. Then we do obviously have all of this extra space around the outside. I think we can do some more pots and pans maybe over here, just next to the oven. Do like this bundle of herbs here as well, but I always make them just slightly smaller so they look a bit more realistic to size. Then I think we need a bin. Maybe we could actually just put a plant over there actually. Let's see how that would look. Maybe even just one like that. I feel like that one looks a bit odd. Yeah, I feel like that actually looks alright. Okay, then let's grab a bin, and I think I'm just going to put it over here. Just go with this sort of silver modern. Or actually, is there any... I guess the white one looks a little bit older. This would kind of work just going in that corner there. Yeah, I feel like that works. Okay, so there's our kitchen. I think we do need maybe a runner rug similar to the one we've used over here, just going through it like this. Yeah, I feel like that makes a bit more sense. Do it in maybe this more purpley. Yeah, I like that. That's quite a nice looking kitchen. Cool. So let's move over now to our last room downstairs, which is our bedroom. So I think we'll do this as like a one, like sort of single person's bedroom. Maybe do it a little bit darker like this. And I do think we could probably have the wood going through it, because then we can just add another rug for comfort. We do have this really tiny section over here, which I'm really not sure what I'm going to put in there. Could do this very tiny little wardrobe in there. I think that kind of works actually. Yeah, I think that kind of works. It does disappear a little bit into it, but I don't think it looks bad. Then I'm thinking we maybe add a chair here and then have a mirror here for getting ready. There we go. Maybe a slightly better coloured one. We do blue. Yeah, there we go, that works. Then I think we do need an additional light in here because this room is quite dark. There you go, I think that looks pretty cute for our little sort of dressing area. We can then move over to the other side where we've got our bed, and I'll add that in just there. I'm trying to think of whether we could fit a double in, but I think we'll do a single just because otherwise it'll be a bit too full. I think we'll go with this one. It's either that one or this one. I feel like this one looks a little bit older, but this one kind of fit the colour scheme a bit. And we can add a lamp to our side table. Quite like this one. I think it's quite nice. It matches the other one that we've picked as well. We could also add in another cabinet, but I don't know if that looks a little bit tight. I don't think it looks too bad. What we could do is actually pull this one a little bit further in. Then I might actually make that one a little bit small. Yeah, that looks all right. Then finally, I think we need some more plants. I think that one kind of matches the theme of what we're going for. Then I think we can add one more small plant to our cabinet. Perfect. So I think it just needs maybe some pictures just to make it feel a bit more homey. Add some flower picture up there. I think it actually then looks pretty good. We're going to have some curtains probably coming down here as well. So let's do the curtains, and then we'll go through and just do the curtains for the rest of the house as well. I This one I feel like is going to be quite difficult just because the bed is there, so it's really close. But something like this I feel like would work if we can get it in a plainer colour. Yeah, I do think this one kind of looks the best. There are a couple of different blue ones, but I think this one looks... I don't know if it really fits in with the older sort of feeling though of it. We do have these ones as well, but I just hate the way that those ones look. Yeah, I feel like these ones don't look as bad, but I still just... I don't really know what I want to put here. Some of them just look a little bit too fancy going here. Yeah, I'm going to settle on these ones just because they're quite small and they don't take up too much space in the room. And they match the colours pretty well. I think the kitchen doesn't look too bad, but maybe just small curtains going across the top would be better. Like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The lounge I think is actually fine. I don't think we need any in there. I'm thinking something similar for the kitchen in this bathroom here. We can maybe do like these little yellow ones, or I think these ones actually look pretty good. Yeah, that looks all right. Perfect. Now we can go upstairs finally. So obviously we don't have a lot going on up here. This is like the master bedroom here. I am half tempted to extend this out a bit more, but that does mean that it'll be cutting into this window on the edge, but I think it's fine just so we can have the room. On this big wall in the hallway upstairs, I'm thinking we can maybe add this little bookcase and then maybe some plants or something just next to it. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cute. Then obviously on the other side it looks a little bit bare, so maybe we could add some pictures. I think just one like that actually looks pretty good, just as you're coming up the stairs. And then maybe we can just add another little one on this side. I feel like that looks pretty nice. Then we can finally move on to our master bedroom. For this one, I think maybe we go with the red tones. Actually, maybe it would be better if we used like this kind of thing where we've got paneling. I feel like that looks a little bit more expensive. Then we could do like red paneling. Yeah, I think that looks kind of cool, just to change it up from the downstairs one. Then obviously I'm thinking we go with that bed. Let's grab a rug. I think this red one looks quite nice and it kind of matches with the bed sheet we've picked. Let's go with this for the wardrobe. I know it's a little bit plainer, but I just really like when you've got a wardrobe that is actually open. And we'll maybe put it on this side over here. Actually, let's do it here because I want to do a seating area and I might do it in that corner there. Then in these older houses, you do tend to have lights next to the two sides of the bed like that. Or we could do two lamps. I'm trying to think of which one would kind of look better. I feel like the lamps might look a bit better. Or if we did maybe one lamp on this side, then we actually don't really need one on the other side. Then we can grab a mirror, which I think it would be good to put it over this side, just facing towards the bed. I feel like that lamp is pretty good for this. We'll get a big picture for this top part just above the bed. Something like that looks pretty nice. I don't know whether we're going a bit too regal with that picture though, to be honest. I even feel that way a little bit about the bed. Maybe we should redo the bed. Let's see what else there is. Because I don't want to go overly regal because that's not really what we're kind of aiming for here. Actually, something like this works a little bit better as a bit more of a toned down version. Then we can go with that colour maybe. Yeah, I feel like that looks nicer. Back to the picture, we can do something that's not as extreme, maybe something like this, but I'm a bit worried it's starting to look a little bit like a hotel. I think we need some more maybe personalized pictures around, but I don't think you'd have those in here. You'd have them in like the hallway, unless you had like this kind of picture, but I feel like you'd have that in here. We'll pop one of those over here just next to the mirror maybe. And let's add this one up here. I know we've already used it downstairs, but I feel like we could use it again. This is looking pretty cozy so far. So I want to add two chairs over here just in this corner. I feel like these will probably work. Yeah, because they're like that sort of same tone as the walls. They are like a little bit more modern, but I think they're not too bad. Then we can maybe add another light over there, but like a big one this time. I think I'm going to add something here. It'd be better if I could find a smaller one though. Maybe something like this. Yeah, that works. I wanted to add some little books just to the side table here. Okay, so I'm feeling like this is pretty good. I think we can move on to just adding some curtains. These windows are much smaller than the ones upstairs, like downstairs, so we're gonna have to work out something that's good for tiny little windows like this. I actually feel like something like this is quite cute. Can we get it in a darker color? Yes. So maybe this, so it doesn't cover the entire thing. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty cute. I might make this picture slightly smaller just because it looks a bit odd where it is, and then we can maybe add it there. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And there we have it, our shell build is complete. I think this one came out pretty unique. I don't tend to do things in sort of an old Victorian or English style, so I think this was definitely a bit of a challenge for me because I haven't really done anything like this before. But I do like how the outside came out. I think the inside was a little bit tricky to do, but I do think that it all goes well together. My favourite part about this is definitely all of the ivy going all across at the outside of it, and of course the little pond, which I didn't add, but as part of the build I think it was really good. I do also quite like the kitchen, and I like the little fireplace as well with all the sofas around it. Let me know what you think of this build in the comments below. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I post long content like this as regularly as I can, which is sort of every week or every other week. I also post shorts on the regular as well, so be sure to follow so you don't miss them. If you'd like to download this build, you can get it on the gallery under HextraHunt. And check out Becky Babe Builds on Instagram to be sure to catch up with their shell builds that they release on the regular. If you guys enjoyed this video, there is another recommended video on the screen now, so be sure to check that out too. And I hope you guys have a great evening.